When you talk about one of the biggest streaming services in the world, the first one that comes to mind is Netflix. It came to the streaming market first and has since then led everyone in terms of market share. However, in recent times, this share is on a downward spiral. Today, we will be talking about the rise and fall of Netflix in regard to the investors that have recently sued the company. How did Netflix rise and what is the reason for its fall? Why are the investors suing the streaming service? We'll stick around till the end as we answer these questions and more as we delve into the intricacies surrounding Netflix. Without further ado, let us begin. So, how did Netflix become the streaming giant it is now? You will be surprised that the company did not start from the streaming services it provides right now. Let us talk about the rise of the streaming service to better explain to you guys. In 1997, there were two men, namely Mark Randolph and Reed Hastings. They, like everyone else in the world, were trying to sort out their life and find a good livelihood that would help them financially. One day, Hastings was returning his 6 weeks overdue movie to the mega popular Blockbuster. He was charged a hefty fee. This made him think about why he is paying this much when he developed his own movies. That is how he came up with the idea of Netflix, where customers would pay for a movie and would receive it via mail right to their doorstep. On the other hand, Mark Randolph was also someone who was desperate to get a decent livelihood in a business that he could run. When he heard of Hastings' plan, he decided that he would join him, as the plan had a chance of success, especially because of Blockbuster's recent slump in the market. They knew that the idea was solid, but there was a risk of the traditional VHS tapes being damaged during the process of being posted from them to the consumer. However, during this time, the DVD was invented in Japan, and soon it became apparent that it was a much better idea compared to VHS tapes. Many people said that it was going to replace them. It was a matter of who will adopt them first. Well, seeing the potential of DVDs, Randolph knew that this was a no-brainer. He convinced Hastings, and the two started their company that mailed DVDs to customers. The company name was decided to be Netflix and was registered on the 29th of August, 1997. Hastings acted as the financial support of the company as he funded nearly $1.9 million into the project. He received 70% ownership and became the chairman. Randolph, on the other hand, was not that well off, did not invest much, but provided the brains behind the company and became CEO. Slowly but surely, Netflix became more and more popular, and more people started favoring it over the traditional Blockbuster. This was mostly due to the fact that Netflix did not have those annoying late fees or anything. They had a subscription-based system and provided unlimited access to their subscribers for an affordable fee of £19.95. Since this also included the mailing cost, this was suitable for people, and they favored it over the costly Blockbuster and their insane late fees. Speaking of Blockbuster, Hastings, seeing the success Netflix was quickly attaining, wanted to cash out so that he could get back the $1.9 million he invested and go home rich. Thus, he meets with the then CEO of Blockbuster, John Antioco, and lets him know that he is planning to sell Netflix for $50 million. Since Netflix was emerging as the main competitor for Blockbuster, it would make sense if they bought the company. However, Antioco just laughed at the Netflix team and rejects the offer. If he only knew what would happen in the coming years, he would never do such a thing. We got a little bit sidetracked there. Let us continue with our story. In the early 2000s, Netflix also changed its mailed envelopes into the iconic red ones that we all know and love, and soon became one of the biggest companies in the market. With the first 5 years of their launch, they had attained thousands of subscribers and were mailing millions of DVDs. But nowadays, we see them in the streaming business. So how did they transform themselves into that? Well, hold your horses, folks. We are just getting into that part of the story. Netflix continued its meteoric rise. It went public in 2002 and raised upwards of $82 million, valuing the company at more than $300 million. They expanded, opening warehouses in various places so that delivery times could be cut short. Later, they started profiting, garnering more than $80 million in revenue in 2006. So as you can see, they already had a strong base before they changed into their current setup, their streaming service. This was instrumental in their success in the long run. So in 2007, the streaming service started. The reason for this was the internet was becoming pretty common, and Netflix saw a niche in the market that no one had filled yet, so it seemed like the perfect opportunity. Moreover, this would also cut posting costs and thus helped Netflix in the long run in terms of finances. Initially, Netflix was primarily a DVD delivering company that also had a streaming option alongside its subscription. It was still in the experimenting phase early on and had only released the online streaming service in Canada with 1,000 titles to choose from. However, they slowly became more and more popular, and in 2010 they started to focus more and more on streaming. Soon, DVD delivery became a side thing in its business plans. In the coming years, Netflix decided to rise through the ranks and quickly became the biggest streaming service in the world. On the other hand, Blockbuster declared bankruptcy in 2010. Isn't it funny, some years ago, Blockbuster rejected the chance of buying Netflix? Well, fate works in weird ways. Initially, Netflix was gaining traction quickly, but it was not widely available throughout the world until 2015. It was only in 50 countries until then, but in 2016, it simultaneously was launched in 130 countries with way more languages. This really boosted subscriptions and viewership increased exponentially for the streaming company. Thus, it comes at no surprise that it hit 100 million subscribers in 2017. However, the defining moment was the pandemic. After people were forced to live in their houses and observe social distancing, they started to surf more online, and hence Netflix viewership increased drastically. It hit 209 million subscriptions in 2021 and turned over $25 billion in revenue. Now that is just crazy money. This was the peak for Netflix, and it looks like nothing would ever stop them. However, after you peak, you are bound to fall. This marked the beginning of the fall for Netflix. This happened after the strict social distancing laws were starting to lift and people started to go back to the somewhat normal way of living. As a result, they did not have the time to stream Netflix as before. Moreover, since they had exhausted Netflix's main shows, there was no point in continuing with their subscriptions, hence a lot of people were canceling theirs and went back to their pre-COVID lifestyles. Thus, in the early months of 2022, stats showed that Netflix had lost more than an astounding 200,000 subscribers in the first quarter of the year. This is a first for Netflix in its short history. This has really hit its stock price, which dropped from almost $400 per share in March to $180 per share in May this year. This is one serious financial hit. Besides the exhaustion of shows, Netflix was losing its monopoly in the online streaming business. A lot of other streaming services had popped up, like Amazon Prime, Hulu, and Disney Plus that offered similar features at cheaper costs. At one point, Netflix was twice as expensive compared to Amazon. Moreover, Netflix was losing the original titles it had, with a lot of popular shows being canceled. Yes, you might have a large library, but people only follow the best ones you have, and if they keep on being canceled, people will eventually stop subscribing. Thus, it comes as no surprise that investors are now suing Netflix on the claim that they were not told of this decline in numbers and now are bearing the losses. This will further drop its value over the next few months. However, Netflix is trying to rectify the situation. Let's see what they bring to the table in the next coming months. If they fail to do so, they will do the exact same thing Blockbuster did and soon become bankrupt. Let's hope for the best for the streaming giant. That is it for the video. I hope you liked and enjoyed the video. Please let me know by pressing the like button, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for future notifications. Till then, take care of yourself, and I will see you guys in the next one.